Hey everyone, doing an impromptu video here. I am actually at the BMV and trying to get plates on vehicles, and I'm bored, but I came prepared because I was like, well shoot, while I'm sitting here I could probably talk to you guys about some of the things that I've been thinking about with some videos. um, and one of the topics I wanted to talk about was deck building. Now, with a lot of us that's been in gaming for a while, it's been real easy for us to acclimate ourselves into deck building. But what I have found is that trying to teach new gamers deck building can be a little bit more difficult than what you might think. So I wanted to talk about deck building games that I think work good for acclimating new gamers into learning the system, the mechanisms, and also just my favorite deck builders that are in the industry right now. Um, Now, before we do get started on this video, though, do me a favor, hit the like button. Also, subscribe if you haven't, because when you hit the like button and you subscribe, it helps me when I talk with publishers. They see that, oh, wow, this guy's got several, followers. He's got a lot of people that like his videos, and it helps me when I do speak to them to bring you the latest and the hottest games that are in the industry right now. So, without further ado, let's get this video started. And I thought we would start with one that, these aren't necessarily in order of my favorites or anything like that, but they are certainly my favorites in general as a whole. And one of them, I thought, we should probably start from the top here, because you know what, we're going to start with this one. So last night I taught this one. Now, I was going to go to a different one, but when I first originally tried to teach deck building, this one did not go so well. But this other one that I've got here, I did teach it last night, and it went a lot better, and it teaches the mechanisms. And what I do like about deck building is how it's been evolving throughout the years. It's not just a simple, oh, build your deck. Remember how like Dominion started? Dominion started, it was nothing but a deck of cards. And it never really was anything more than that, that you're just acquiring victory points by gathering cards and sticking them in your deck, and then you keep playing cards to buy more cards to stick in your deck. What I like is how deck building has evolved to where now it's not just a deck of cards. You also have other modulars on that you're having to keep track of, like a game board or some other system that's in place. And that's why I like El Dorado. This one is a fantastic deck building game. If you haven't played this one, I highly recommend it. And what this one is all about is that it's a racing game. And what you're trying to do is you have a map with all these tiles, and you see how there's all kinds of different little terrain types that are on them. What you're going to be doing is that you're going to be building your deck with cards that have these different types of adventurers that represent these different terrains, and that's going to allow you to try to plow through, because it's an absolute race. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to race through all the terrain and find or discover El Dorado first. That's right here, the lost city of gold. Now, what I like about this is that it's very simplistic in its design, because it's real simple. See, like this character allows you to cut through I mean, you could even look at the symbols, which are machetes, or you can look at just the color, and it just matches up so perfectly. They did great with that. Now, the downside of this game is that it uses tiny cards, like in the Ticket to Ride system. I hate tiny cards, but it doesn't bother me enough, because this isn't a game where you're going to be creating a stack of 50 cards, so it's not really that big of a deal. In order to be able to try to complete the expedition before anybody else, because the first player that makes it to here is going to win the game. And what they did is they actually built an in-game like tiebreaker. You see these little upside down little things here? Well, that's the only place where it is, right here. What these are is little obstacles that you have to cross. So like to go from this tile to this tile, you have to defeat this barrier, okay? And this barrier has a number on it, and whoever ends the game with the highest numbers of the barriers, they ended up immediately just having a tiebreaker. So it gives you something that you can immediately see that you're trying to overcome even as you're playing the game, which makes it really cool. And they do even already have an expansion out for this one, and they have more coming out as well. And I haven't tried this expansion yet, but it does add some other little variables that, I'm excited to try out. But El Dorado, this is by Ravensburger, is a great deck building game that I highly recommend that you check out if you haven't already. So let's put that down here at the bottom of the truck, sitting in my truck, talking about board games. All right, so I think that's a great one to, let's see, how you feel about the reprint in Vincent? Oh man, I didn't get a chance to read that. I am so sorry. I'll try to read that again because I'm on my tablet. I'm not actually at the computer, so when I get a chance, I'll try to pull that up and see. Live chat on my... There we go. Okay. How do you feel about them reprinting this? Oh, with the, yeah, and the bigger cards. It's cool, but need to rebuy all the current. You know what? And it's funny because I might do it, to be honest with you. I might end up buying it all again just because I want the bigger cards. And I love Vincent's artwork. Isn't it just the best? I mean, you're talking Lewis and Clark, Discoveries. He's done such great artwork. And I'm actually tempted. I'll probably end up buying it again, to be honest. As stupid as it sounds, I probably will. So that's a very simple deck builder that's I think is probably one of the easier ones to acclimate someone into the system. Now it does have the board, and I do like that about it. And the board is modular. It'll keep changing because you can set it up. Now another one that I think is really good, but this one's one where people have to, you know, understand it's an aggressive style of deck building, but that is Star Realms. Now Star Realms has been out for a while. This one is a highly popular deck builder. Now I have a couple of cases here of it because I practically have everything, but I'm not even current up to date with it all. At some point I just stopped collecting it all because I hardly ever play my physical copy anymore. I always find that I play the app anymore with Star Realms. But Star Realms is a great deck builder game too, and it's also, I wouldn't necessarily say that this one is easier because I think El Dorado is easier, and the only reason I think this one could be a little bit more complicated is because there's so many different things you can do with the ships. And I do think this one has a higher luck value than El Dorado, because I think El Dorado, you can kind of really build your deck based upon the way that the map looks, whereas this one, you have no idea what's coming up in the trade row. And even when you draw your cards, you may not even get the cards you need, and then you got the different factions that you have to try to bounce off of each other. That's why I think this one's more complicated than El Dorado if you're wanting to try to teach a new gamer how the mechanisms of deck building work. But this is still fun. Now what's interesting about this one is that you actually go to the death, versus El Dorado, where it's a race to the end of the board and whoever gets there first wins. This one is about whoever basically kills everybody else. And that is kind of a, you know, no other game that I can remember with deck building did that before Star Realms came out. And I always thought that that was really cool that they actually designed a game where it's basically, you know, first one dies, the other player wins. You know what I mean? That's kind of neat. And I still like this one an awful lot. Like I said, though, I play with the app more than anything just because it's so much easier to keep track of everything with your authority and I don't know, just a lot easier. All right, so another one. This is the one that I actually started trying to teach with. So didn't know about the app. Yeah, the app, Texas. You got to get the app. It's awesome, man. Trust me. And it's got all the expansions for the most part and everything too. It's a lot of fun. So this is the one that I actually started trying to teach with deck building, and I did not have quite as much success with it, but that is Clank. Now Clank is super fun. Basically what this is all about, now there is a this is the fantasy version where you're going through a dungeon, and then there's also a version where you're going to be in space. The space version is technically better mechanically with the mechanisms, but I think this one is still my choice because I prefer to run through a dungeon than what I prefer to run through space. So basically with Clank, you have a board here, and you're trying to basically go down from the top side. You're going to go down into the dungeon. You're going to collect as many treasures as you possibly can and then get back out. Sounds easy, right? Well, you use your cards to be able to move. You use your cards to be able to fight because there are monsters down here. And then there's this pesky dragon that's constantly trying to burn your butt and possibly even kill you. And what's interesting about this is that there's, in a lot of games, there's also, in deck building, there's cards that will clog up your deck, okay? With this one, it's basically clank. You're making noise, and you don't want cards that make noise. And these cards, sometimes they actually, you can make noise and it's a good card still, but you don't necessarily want to make too much noise, because when you make too much noise, then that leads to where, you know, you're waking up the dragon and you're going to take too many wounds whenever it does wake up and it comes charging after you. Now, what's interesting about Clank as well, and by the way, Star Realms, that's by White Wizard Games. This is by Renegade Games. I just wanted to point that out real fast. Now, Clank has several expansions. We have the Sunken Treasure, Good morning, brother. We need to play Star Realms again. Yes, we do, Tim. We definitely need to play some Star Realms. This one is the Sunken Treasure, where you're actually going underwater, and you'll have even extra cards for water monsters and stuff. Then there's also one with a mummy, and then these are all different boards. And then you're going to go and you got a mummy that's running around, which is fun. There's also, I have in here, it doesn't have a separate box to be able to keep it in, but there's one that's a spider, like a spider queen that's on one side, and you flip it over, it's all about gold on the other side, like a dwarven mine on the other side. And then at Gen Con, I'm picking up, there's one, it's called like the Ape Lords or the Ape King or something like that. And I'm going to pick that up as well, which sounds really cool. So Clank is a great one as well. And what I like about this one is once again, like El Dorado, it is kind of a racing style game, but at the same time, it's also a game where it's kind of like you could die, just like in Star Realms. So it's got kind of like the best of both. Whereas Star Realms is just nothing but a deck of cards. This one still has the board like El Dorado. You see what I'm getting at? There's yin-yang with all these deck building games, and they've certainly progressed in different ways that have made it really cool, that I've really enjoyed watching the evolution of deck building and how they've incorporated into board gaming. So this could possibly be my favorite, which is, I don't know. I always say everything's my favorite, so what do I know? But anyways, I do like this one an awful lot. But Tyrants of the Underdark. The only thing, the downside about this one is that they did a chintzy job on this. This game is so well designed, and I wish that they would have taken the time to actually publish it and produce it to the level that I feel that this game deserved. But what do you expect? Anyways, enough said. So basically you have a board up here with all these different types of cities, and what you're doing is that you represent basically a house in the Underdark, and you're going to be deck building, which means you're going to be building your deck with creatures or different types of characters that are going to help you to try to take over the Underdark and try to expand as much as you possibly can. And this game is absolutely brilliant. The way that it is designed and done is that you try to take presence, you try to take over cities where other people are, so you try to kick them out and you try to put your troops and your soldiers in there. There's a lot of neat stuff that's going on in this game that I cannot recommend this one enough. There is one expansion that came out for it, and they've been silent on it ever since, and I don't understand why, because it just seems to me like this is a game, if it was in the hands of the right publisher, would have been probably at the top of the list of everybody when it comes to deck building. They've got great little miniatures that you use for shields. These represent your soldiers, and then you have spies that you could place in there as well. But as you could tell, I mean, look at the artwork on the back. I mean, how chintzy is that? Minion. I mean, it's like freaking, Despicable Me, the card game. But regardless, this one is a fantastic game, regardless of, I mean, the front art looks good, okay? That's like out of the books. But the back side of the cards and everything else they did, the board is too dark and everything. But everything, you got to just basically ignore all that, though, because the game actually plays so good that it makes up for any of those faults. So don't fault the ugliness of the game and think that, well, that probably plays like an ugly game. I remember what's so funny about this one here is that a friend of mine saw that this was going to be coming out, okay? And he pre-ordered it. And then when he got to Origins, he looked at the box, he looked at the back of the box, and he wanted to cancel his pre-order because it was that ugly of a looking game. But I happened to grab a copy, and we sat down and played my copy. And as soon as he was finished playing an actual game of it, he looks over and he said, "Don't cancel my pre-order. I got to have this game." So that's how good it plays, all right, regardless of the ugliness. But fantastic game, Tyrants of the Underdark. Highly recommend that you grab this one if you're into deck building. Regardless if you're not even into the theme of the game, it is just super fun. It's an area control deck building game with a board that just makes it so freaking fun. All right, the last one we got here. Oops, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to smack you, I swear. There's just little room to work here in front of the truck. Of course, it is the one that I just absolutely fell in love the very first day I saw it. Legendary. I will never forget when I first saw this one. It was a prototype at Gen Con. And I remember my friend Jason Brenner, he was basically just tucked away in a little cubby hole. And that's all he did all day, every day, was just demo Legendary. nonstop like a freaking machine. And I would keep stopping over. That's how him and I first met. I'd come over, we'd just talk every day about the game, how everybody's playing it, how everybody's liking it. And I was like, man, yeah, Tim, this is a great one, man. It is phenomenal. And there's a lot of expansions for this one, just a ton of expansions. And I recommend this one an awful lot. You don't need to get into the expansions, but if you were to get into the expansions, I would really recommend Dark City. Dark City is a phenomenal expansion for this card set. And what this one is about, and if you notice, I don't have the backside. Sorry about that. I can only carry so much in my truck. And this one is a heavy, heavy, heavy box. But this one is a board that would be laid out like the city, and the villains will be moving through the city, and you're going to be using your cards to defeat the villains in the certain spots of the city. And then eventually you have a mastermind that you must defeat in order to be able to win the game. Once the mastermind's defeated, then each person will calculate how many victory points they have based upon the villains they defeated or the masterminds that they hit. And then they are like the true champion. But this is a great deck building game, a lot of fun, but it's not necessarily one I would start people out in. I think they should start in El Dorado and then work their way eventually to this one. And what's nice about Legendary is that I too recently got Legendary, love it. Are there, hang on, let me pull you back up. Let me see. Okay, you don't recommend. Sarah, I'm not really sure if there's any I don't recommend. I do know that there are some that are weaker than others. That's a good question. I do know, like, I didn't find the Deadpool expansion that good. I mean, I know everybody was all excited about it, but it's kind of stupid, to be honest. I really didn't enjoy that one at all. It didn't add anything to the game. I know that there was another expansion. I thought there was a great one with the X-Men. That one was a good one. I liked it. There was another one, though, that I thought was kind of lacking as well, and for some reason it slipped out of my mind. I haven't really played the Legendary in a long time, but there are several sets of the Legendary that I wanted to talk about too, and that's the Encounters system. And this is the Aliens version, and this is quite possibly my favorite version. Yeah, probably the Noir, Tim, thank you. Yeah, I didn't think that one was necessary either. It just fell flat for me. What this one does is it really takes you, so like Aliens, Alien 3, all those, it takes you through the movies. It's very thematic. This is a system that if you're familiar with the movies, if you're a fan of the movies, you are going to absolutely love the experience that this game right here draws out of you, because you feel the suspense, you feel the terror that would actually be in the films. It is so amazing. This is one of the best designed deck building games I have ever experienced, because they just captured what was in the movies perfectly and just packed it right into a board game. And I mean, you don't see that happen very often, where people take an IP and they can actually translate it and show the passion and give the game the respect that it really deserves based upon how well the movie was received. But this one, they did a fantastic job. This is one of my all-time absolute favorite experiences. And what's neat about this one, it is a pure co-op. You either work together or you die. And what's neat about this is you could even play as, once one person gets destroyed or killed, they could possibly die from being infected by a chest burster, which means they will turn into an alien. And then the next thing you know, you have an ally that's now become an enemy. And they even get a whole different deck of cards and they will fight you. This is so much fun, man. I love this game so much. But that's the Aliens. So if you're not into Aliens, you may not dig it as much as I do. But I dig it an awful lot. Now, another one would be the Encounters with Legendary, the Predator version, of course. The Spider-Man one that uses the movie scenes. Oh, yeah, Texas. God, that one's terrible. I did not like that one at all. Thanks. Yeah. So, Sarah, you can avoid the movie-looking Spider-Man. That one did not add a look at anything. That was just tacked on. This one here is the Predator version of the Alien, and I'm going to say it. It is technically better than the Alien version. Technically. Now, the thing about it, I still prefer the Alien one. This one, though, it adds better mechanisms, because you can play as the Predators or you could play as the survivors trying to run away from the Predators. You could set traps. There's all kinds of fun things that you can do. Well, that's funny, Tim, because nobody asked you what you agreed with. The no, it's okay, Tim. To be honest, I'm just joking with you, but it is all about taste, isn't it? It's about what you like and what you enjoy. I think, to me personally, I like to feel the experience of the films that I love as a kid and I've grown up with, and I think that these systems here have captured what I just absolutely love about those and put them perfectly into a deck building system that I can enjoy forever now. So this one is a great one too. And like I said, the mechanisms are probably a little bit better than the Alien version, and they're definitely better than the Marvel Legendary, the Marvel version. Both of these are better than the Marvel version when it comes to the mechanisms, but it all depends on what your tastes are, and that's an important aspect of all gaming. I think that we sometimes forget is that it doesn't matter sometimes, what you think of a game. Other people like them for different reasons, right? You don't have to all like games for the same exact reasons. I like them for one reason, you like them for a different. And I think with a lot of these, I enjoy the experience. I really get into the games a lot of times, and that's why I have a hard time getting into games that have zero theme, because I like to experience them. I like to, get a feel for it. And those games, like, it's such a change of pace, With Marvel Legendary, it's just all about action, and you're just trying to get through the game. You're having fun with it, but with the encounters with the Predator and the Alien, you're trying to survive. And that's a totally different feel and a totally different experience than the other one. You're going into it thinking, are we going to live? With Marvel Legendary, sure, you might be defeated by the Mastermind, but it doesn't have that suspense. You don't have cards that are upside down coming out that are, what is that? I don't know. We better scan the room, flip it over, check it out. But if I scan it, then I'm not going to have enough, I want to be able to get more cards instead. So what do we do? And I love the co-op. I really think that it's a tighter co-op where you're working together. And then you can even have cards in your hand that you could play. And then that benefits your, opponent, that benefits your teammate, but then it also lets you draw other cards up. So, okay, so those were just a handful of the ones that I love the most. Leave a comment below. What are some of your favorite deck building games? I do have others, but you know what? I thought that was probably good enough to bring just to talk in a little card chat while I'm waiting here at the BMV to get some plates for my vehicles. And Gen Con right around the corner. Super excited about that. Not really decided quite yet how I want to go about filming and everything, but I may end up just at the end of the day recap is kind of what I'm thinking. I'm not real sure, but regardless, if you've got any games you want to see me film, let me know. I'll see what I could possibly do. But I've got probably about 50 games I want to try to hit, and I'm so excited because this looks like a great Gen Con. So all right, as usual, I appreciate you guys watching, and don't forget, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't, and just the usual rigmarole that I always say. And I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.